Welcome to Alive and Well, the podcast for the new era of high achievers. You're done burning out, and you're ready to lead, work, and live in a rhythm that honors both your brilliance and your body. I'm your host, Michelle Grosser. I'm a trial attorney turned nervous system strategist, and I've lived the burnout story. I know what it's like to chase your goals at the expense of your well-being. And I also know it doesn't have to be that way. Here, we're redefining success. It's where productivity feels peaceful, boundaries feel like freedom, and energy comes from within. Each week, I'll share practical tools for nervous system regulation, time mastery, and somatic strategies so you can show up with clarity, calm, and confidence in every part of your life. Because you, my friend, were given a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. So here's to life and living it fully. This is the path to feeling alive and well. Let's dive in. Hey guys, Michelle here. Welcome back to the show. So excited to have you with us today. We're going to talk about capacity. If you guys have listened to the show since, I guess, the beginning of the year, really, I have been thinking about capacity a lot. And I have been tracking my own capacity and trying to find like different buckets or categories of capacity that I really want to be intentional about learning how to grow and expand. So all day long, as I'm noticing myself feeling frustrated about something, irritated, off, if it's like a brain fog thing or like a physical energy kind of thing or what have you, I'm like trying to notice it and then put it into a category or a bucket so I can start to organize myself as it relates to my capacity. And what I've found is that most of the things that I'm experiencing seem to fall into these 5 areas of capacity. At least these are 5 areas that I want to expand. And these are the things that I'm hearing from you guys too, whether it's inside of my programs, in one-on-one coaching, or just you guys sending me emails, social media, responding to stuff that I'm putting out there. I'm seeing these over and over again. So what I thought we could do is we could have an episode today with these 5 areas of capacity that we can expand if we want to feel less overwhelmed, if we want to feel more grounded, if we want to feel more clear-headed, more energetic, whatever it is. I think these are 5 areas of a capacity that we can start to kind of focus on to help to expand. And I was thinking back, so my oldest, Amory, she just turned 9 in February, so a couple weeks ago. And I was doing a lot of reflecting and thinking back 9 years ago when she was born and what my life was like at that time, right? And then soon thereafter, I was running a very busy law practice in downtown Miami. I had Amory, and then 16 months later, I had my second daughter, Ashton. So 2 babies in 16 months. That took a toll on my everything, my body, my mind, my house, my time, my career, everything, right? And, it felt like a lot at the time. And I think it was. I was always rushing. I was always late, like not fashionably late, but like frazzled, apologetic kind of late, like one thing away from losing it late all the time. And then anywhere I showed up, whether it was, to court or to church or just the office, I just felt like I was already depleted. And then I would get to the end of the day, tank empty, right? Beyond empty, like nothing left for myself, nothing left for my kids, nothing left for Jeff. I was just irritable in a way that actually started to scare me a little bit. Like that's kind of what prompted me doing this work for myself before I turned around and started sharing it with you. But it was like short fuse. It was low patience. It was this constant, just low grade feeling that everything was too much. And I was doing something wrong because I was barely keeping the wheels on, right? And when I look back now, it's just fascinating because compared to what life looks like now, I actually wasn't managing all that much, right? Sure, I was running a law firm. And there's stress that comes with that. There's stress that comes with learning how to be a mother, right? Like that transition into motherhood for the first time. And then to have my second daughter come, what felt like really quickly after the first, that was a lot, right? The whole dynamic of my marriage changed when we had kids. Everything at work changed, but really that was it. And I say it in air quotes, like I have compassion for myself during that time, but y'all, I was drowning. And then I fast forward to what my life looks like today, right? I still have those two kids, but I'm homeschooling them. And over the last maybe 3-4 years, at one point or another, I have been like the variety pack of careers and businesses and jobs and roles and titles and things that I have been managing. Homeschooling my kids, still running the law firm, pastoring a church, planting a church, and then pastoring a church, and then growing a full staff with like Sunday services and midweek ministries and all of that. Running this coaching business, hosting the podcast. About a year ago, last March, so I guess a year ago, Jeff and I bought a pool cleaning company here in Houston. So we also do that now where I'm managing our whole team and all of our routes and our customers. And y'all, it's like, I look back, I'm like, man, I don't know how all of this happened. And yet here we are. On paper, my life is exponentially more full than it was 8 or 9 years ago. And I am, like, it blows my mind. I am genuinely, not performatively, but genuinely less stressed, and I'm more grounded, and I'm very rarely overwhelmed. Like, overwhelm was a word that came out of my mouth all the time 7, 8, 9 years ago. My husband would always be like, what's going on? Like, why are you why are you being like this? I was like, I don't know. I'm just so overwhelmed, right? Like, I would say that all the time. I don't say that anymore. I am sleeping well. I'm present with my kids and my husband in a way that I just couldn't access back then. My days don't feel so crunched and everything feeling urgent. Even though my calendar is still very full. My marriage, thank you, Lord, is in the healthiest place it's ever been. And the difference, like, I don't say all of that to be like, look what I'm doing now. I say all of it because the difference isn't that I have a simpler life. When you just look at the things that I'm holding and running and managing and doing, it's actually a lot fuller, right? I didn't like declutter my life to find this sort of grounded stability. I didn't find the perfect morning routine. I didn't hire a bunch of help. I didn't like finally find the perfect planner or get the bigger house or like get organized or any of that stuff. All I did is I learned how to expand my capacity. And that's what I want to talk about today. So, let's just briefly talk about what I mean when I say capacity, and then let's go through each of these 5 areas, and what it looks like when we start to expand our capacity in that part of our life. So first, when I'm talking about capacity, I'm not talking about like being all zen and calm and the absence of stress. I'm not talking about having fewer things on your plate or this like slow, homesteader life or this, I don't know, personality like upgrade, like that's, where we're never unbothered. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what can your nervous system hold in your life? What kind of pressure can you hold? Expectations, responsibility, emotions, uncertainty, complexity, like the joy, all of it. How much of that can you hold without it tipping your nervous system into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? I'm talking about the size of your container, the size of your stress container. And here's what it took me so long to understand is that capacity isn't actually one thing. I think it shows up across many different areas of our lives. But if your life looks anything like mine, managing a home, raising children, stewarding a husband and a marriage, financial pressures, running businesses or working a job that feels stressful at times, then I think our capacity tends to fall in these 5 categories we're going to go over today. And I think, at least this is what I see and what I anticipate, is that a lot of us are underdeveloped in some of these categories without maybe even realizing it, which is good news because it means that there's room for us to grow and learn and change and expand our capacity, and maybe even identify the areas where we're like, yeah, those are maybe my I have the lowest capacity in those areas. And that's really where I want to focus first, which I think is great. But what it also means is that we're managing symptoms instead of actually expanding our capacity, like expanding the thing that would actually change everything, right? Okay, so let's walk through these 5 areas of capacity that I think we all want to expand if we want to feel more grounded and just in our bodies and present and even calm, right? And I'm going to kind of use my own before and after just to help paint the picture a little bit with each one, because I think that can be helpful. So the first area of capacity is our emotional capacity. Guys, this is huge. I cannot overstate this. This is really about your ability to feel, one, your own emotions, but then also the ability to be with other people's emotions. So if you ever have to interact with other humans, all of us, in your home, your extended family, the people that you work with, can you be around their emotions without you just absorbing all of it, right? Without you being completely hijacked by someone else's anger, rage, whatever's going on with them, anxiety, negative attitude, all of the things, meltdowns. Because for me, 9-10 years ago, before I started doing any of this work, my emotional capacity was basically non-existent, right? If I was around someone who was really sad or crying about something, I didn't know what to do. I was so uncomfortable. I was so out of touch with my own emotions. That just wasn't something that I saw or was taught growing up, right? And not that it was my parents' fault. That just wasn't a thing back in the mid 80s. And if my husband was having a bad day, then I was having a bad day. And if he was frustrated about something, then, I took all of that on. Or if he was sad about something, then I took all of that on. And then my kids came along, and thankfully I started doing this work when they were pretty young. But when they were 1, 2, 3, when they had a meltdown, it was really hard for me not to have my own version of a meltdown right next to them, right? And not on the outside, but I'm talking about internally. It was really hard for me not to get flooded right away, emotionally flooded, reactive, jump right into fixing mode. So I would just try to fix everything because I couldn't stand people not being happy or okay or good. And I would get completely dysregulated, and there was just zero space between what I felt and what I did. So someone would say something whack or sideways in a meeting, and I'd be replaying it, for the next 3 days. Or my husband would come home in a bad mood, and somehow I would just absorb all of that and try to fix everything and make it my own problem to solve. And I had no buffer and no pause, and emotion just kind of came in and took over. And that's what it looked like for me. Maybe it looks similar for you. Maybe it's different. But now I can feel frustrated without it hijacking, the next 2 hours of my day. I can hold my kids' big feelings, crying, disappointment, anger, defiance, drama, what have you, without drowning in them, right? Alongside of them. There's just space, right? I can have a conversation with someone, customer calls me. I just think back of when I was practicing law and just getting on the phone with either a client or an opposing counsel who is really difficult. And man, I could just take in what they were saying and not feel any sort of activation in my body and be able to sit through it calmly and respond from a place of groundedness and clarity and authority, all of that, which didn't exist, just a few years prior. That gap is emotional capacity, and we can all learn to build it, right? All of these are just skills. These are patterns that need reworking and skills that we can learn and acquire. So that's emotional capacity. And then the next capacity, and this is what we talk about a lot here on the podcast, is our stress capacity, right? Our nervous system's ability to hold discomfort, pressure, complexity, uncertainty, all of those things without falling apart. So again, I remember back in my law firm days, like one extra thing that would be added to my plate. I was just about to walk out the door, one call coming through, waking up to like whatever emails, done. Done. Like I would have decision fatigue by noon. A surprise problem would kind of land and I'd feel this immediate wave of like, everything is too much. Like I'm just frozen. I can't even make a decision right now. I'm just so overwhelmed, right? My body is just like in a freeze response, or I jump right into fight or flight and kind of panic. My window of tolerance was tiny and it didn't take much to push me over the edge. And then I'd come home and be, snappy and irritable and reactive and edgy with my family, because it spills over, right? And now, we just talked about it, but I'm running 7 bajillion things simultaneously. But I'm doing it in a way where most days, let me tell you, 25 out of 30 days a month, maybe, it genuinely doesn't feel stressful. And it's not because nothing hard ever happens. That's not true, right? There's a lot of things in my life that are stressors, but it's because my window of tolerance has just expanded so much that what used to feel like a crisis and like knock me out, you guys, now just feels like, oh, it's just Tuesday morning, right? I recover faster when I get dysregulated. I can hold more complexity without my brain going offline. I have more mental clarity, right? Less brain fog, more like small disruptions. They don't derail my day anymore. And sure, there's a lot of like wisdom and surrender and experience that have factored into this. But I also think that it's more than that, right? There's an actual like physiological shift that's happened in what my nervous system can hold. Stress capacity. All right. The third one that I see, the third area of capacity, is our physical and energetic capacity. And I put these together. This is your body, your physical capacity, your energetic capacity. It's your body as a resource. So I'm thinking things like sustainable energy, right? Restorative rest, not running on fumes and caffeine and willpower. And I was walking this adrenaline loop for years, right? And in a lot of ways, it served me in the sense that I achieved a lot of things, right? I got stuff done. But then I would crash so hard and I would hit the weekends or the evenings, even just like running on empty. And somehow I still had, to feed everyone and do bath time with the girls and put them to bed and then have a semi-coherent conversation with my husband. Stop. Sleep was a disaster for me. I would fall asleep fine because I was so beat. But then for maybe a stretch of like 3-4 years, and it was brutal, I would wake up without fail anytime between 2 or 3 a.m. and I would just have a party with my own anxiety and I couldn't fall back asleep. And that was brutal. My body was just always bracing and always tense and always one thing away from breaking down. And that, so much of that has healed as I've increased my physical and energetic capacity. Afternoon crash, non-existent, right? That used to happen to me all the time. I couldn't remember sitting at my desk at the law firm and like that time would hit and it would take everything in me to like continue, reading emails and getting through them and actually understanding what was going on and producing any meaningful work. And I sleep through the night now, which if you've been here a while, that was a whole journey for me. But rest actually restores me instead of just feeling like something I've got to like get through so I can wake up and push and grind again, which is what I did for so long. And my body is starting to feel like something that, I just like appreciate and live in instead of something that I'm just dragging around all day. And when your nervous system is dysregulated, you guys, your body is stuck in this like low grade emergency response all the time. And that takes so much energy. Energy gets diverted to survival, not just like the things we have to get done, but literally what's happening in our body, right? Redistribution of blood supply so we can fight or we can run so we can survive. Slowing or shutting down of non-essential systems and functions, our digestive system. It's why if we've been under chronic stress, we have a ton of gut issues. Our endocrine system, same thing, chronic stress, our hormones are a mess. Reproductive system, all of these different things are connected. Energy gets diverted to surviving when we're living like that, not to, functioning as it should, but even thriving, right? Expanding your physical and your energetic capacity, at least to me, it means teaching our system, teaching our body that it's actually safe to go in these cycles of like, yeah, we're going to show up and perform and do the things, but it's actually safe for us to like stand down, right? To restore and not have to stay braced all the time. So that's your physical and energetic capacity. Then there's two more. The fourth one is our relational capacity. How much can you hold in a relationship? I'm talking your kids' needs, your partner's needs, your parents or extended family or in-laws or siblings, your friends, your kids' teachers, the people you work with. How much can you hold of other people's needs? Conflict, that's relational capacity. Intimacy, connection, all of that without losing yourself. And I think this one, at least for me, was quietly probably the most painful in that season because I wasn't present with the people that I loved most. I was physically there, sure. I was at dinner, I was at bedtime, I was there on the weekends, but my brain was half somewhere else always. And I was managing my husband and trying to control and fix instead of really truly connecting with him. I was going through the motions with my kids a lot of the time, especially in the evenings, instead of actually being with them and being fun and lighthearted and joyful and silly and playful because I just had nothing left to give by the time I got home. And I really resented that I was supposed to find something to give them because, I was tapped out. And then I don't know if any of you can relate to this, but for me, it was really hard for me to ask for help. And receiving support was really uncomfortable because I was the strong one. I was the one who always held everything together, right? The oldest child, the oldest daughter. That was just my role. And letting anyone else step in and carry anything, I think I desperately wanted and needed that. But at the same time, it also felt like a threat to my identity as someone who could handle it all. I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys, if that lands at all, if anyone feels that way too. But that's what it felt like for me. And it's changed so much. I can be present now, actually present with my kids. I can have hard conversations with my husband or with my employees or with the people I work with or with my extended family without it turning into this huge, project that takes days. I can ask for help without this internal monologue or making up all these stories about what it means about me or my abilities or, my worthiness or anything like that. I can just let myself be loved in a different way, which sounds kind of simple, but it's actually not. And that's relational capacity. How much can you hold in your relationships, in your connections with other people before you start either abandoning yourself, or just kind of tapping out, escaping, pulling back, any of that, right? And I think for a lot of us, high achievers, I think we're running empty in this category. And maybe that feels true for you. And then finally, we're going to end on a high note. The last area of capacity that I really want to grow, and this is my invitation and my prayer for all of you, is that we might all increase our joy and pleasure capacity. At first, I almost didn't even think to include this in the framework because it sounds soft and maybe even indulgent. But the more I think about it, I think this might actually be the most important one. And I think it's definitely the most countercultural. But it's your ability to actually experience good things in your life, not to perform gratitude, right? I know I need to have a gratitude practice and then I bullet point, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my house. Not this cognitive understanding that things are good. I'm talking about actually feeling it. Actually feeling it. And as I was putting together my notes for this episode, this memory just like flashed into my mind. When we lived in Miami, we had, I don't know if it was like a long weekend or what it was, but we had driven across the state with our nanny for a family vacation at this beautiful resort on the Gulf Coast of Florida. And I remember being in a beach chair, like perfect, weather, perfect day. My kids are playing with Jeff and I'm just watching them. And it's literally like right before my eyes, like 10 feet in front of me, this picture of like everything I've ever wanted, everything I've ever prayed for. And I remember just this like sinking feeling in my gut that like, this is literally perfect. And I feel almost nothing. And it's like kind of even like not embarrassing, but like I'm feeling myself getting emotional even as I share this with you guys. Because that's a scary place to be. And maybe some of you have been there and you're like, yeah, I get what you're saying. And it's not that I was feeling sad exactly. It wasn't that I was ungrateful. It wasn't like I could intellectually understand how good my life was. Like cognitively, I knew that, but like there was a disconnect in that I couldn't really feel it. Like everything was just kind of flat. It was like I was watching my own life through glass or like from the outside looking in. And I just so desperately wanted to like get up and run into that water with my family and be present with them. And like, but like something in me just couldn't get there. And underneath it all, there was this like, I don't know if it's a sadness, but like, I was just like, I don't know, it was just disturbing the fact that I couldn't feel the thing that I felt like I was supposed to be feeling, right? And I think it was a low joy capacity. And I think it's more common than anyone talks about because it's so easy to get caught up in like the hustle and grind. It's so easy to get caught up in all the tasks and all the things that have to get done and managing everything and who's doing what and do we have everything we need for, Billy Bob's birthday on Friday and when your nervous system has been in survival mode for that long or for long enough, it starts to flatten your affect across the board. It doesn't just blunt the hard emotions, it blunts everything. Joy requires presence. Pleasure requires safety. And then the nervous system that's been like bracing, avoiding all of that, right, doesn't feel safe, inability to be present. It's really hard for either of those to land. Now, the small things land. Like I was literally at piano on Monday. I bring my kids to piano on Monday after I pick them up. And their lessons are each 30 minutes. So Amory goes for her lesson first and I sit and hang out with Ashton. And then they swap and Ashton goes for her lesson for 30 minutes. But Amory was in her lesson and I was sitting on the little couch in the piano class, like waiting room, with Ashton. And she was just reading a book and I just looked at her and she looked at me and she could see like the tears welling in my eyes. And she just reached over and like her little hand grabbed mine. And, she just like looked at me with her sweet little face and gave me a hug. And I didn't even have to say anything, but she knew. I was just like looking at her and I was like, holy moly, I just love this kid so much. Right. And I was just like proud of myself that I was able to just be there and feel that. I love my morning coffee, right? I love when the song comes on and like my husband just grabs my hand in the kitchen while we're making dinner and we just, start dancing around the house. Like I love when my kids say something genuinely funny and like my belly and my cheeks hurt from laughing so much. Like I've gotten to a place where I can be spontaneous without my brain breaking, right? About everything that could go wrong. Like fun doesn't feel like something I have to earn or like force or pretend to be after I've been productive like long enough or, to earn it or deserve it or what have you. Like expanding my joy capacity has probably been the greatest blessing of the 6-7 years. It might be the whole point. It might be the whole point, you guys. All right. So those are the 5. Now, here is the piece that I think makes this different because this is not a wellness checklist, right? The nervous system is what is operating. It's the operating system underneath all of these areas of capacity. All 5 of these, your nervous system is the operating system underneath them. So whether it's emotional capacity, stress capacity, energetic capacity, relational capacity, joy capacity, those aren't like 5 separate problems per se that are requiring like 5 separate different strategies or solutions. They're really just 5 expressions of the same root system. When your nervous system is dysregulated, all 5 of those contract. When you expand your nervous system capacity, all 5 of those have room to grow. That's the mechanism. That's what makes this work different from, anything else I've seen on the market, anything else you've probably tried. So I'm leaning into this, you guys. I think there's something here for us. And I'm actually going to change the format of this podcast, which I'm so excited about. But really building it around this framework of capacity expansion, the nervous system as the operating system, and then what it actually looks like to hold a full life without it running you into the ground. And the response from you all so far has made it really clear that like this is a conversation you want to be a part of. So here we are. So the podcast is getting a new name around the idea of capacity. Surprise, surprise. So that's going to be coming out in the spring. So excited about it. And the direction is really what we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks. And then along with the new name, I'm going to kind of change the structure of the podcast. So we're going to keep Tuesday episodes like they are. And on Tuesdays, we're going to meet for like full length episodes like this, where I'm going to rotate through these different areas of capacity. So one week we'll talk and teach and we'll be all about emotional capacity. And then the next week I'm going to teach about stress capacity. And then the next week we'll talk about energetic capacity, and I'll just kind of rotate through those. I think that's going to be awesome. And then I'm introducing something new on Fridays. I'm going to call it High Capacity Fridays. But these are going to be like kind of mini episodes, short little like 5-10 minute episodes on Fridays. And the idea is I'm going to give you one practical tool to help expand your capacity in one of these 5 areas, like over the weekend, and then to put into practice the following week. So, I'm going to cut out the fluff, no lengthy like build up. I'm just going to get right to it. I'm going to give you guys almost like a little mini coaching session or a little homework kind of thing, something really actionable, something really specific, and designed to fit into real life that you can listen on Fridays and be like, all right, cool. This is my assignment for the week, right? This is where I'm going to place my focus and my attention and my intention over the weekend and then into the week, until I get a new assignment from Michelle on the next High Cap Friday. So I'm really excited for those. I think it's going to be really helpful. More details on all of this to come shortly, so stay tuned. But in the meantime, if you have been sitting here today listening to this episode and there's one of these 5 categories that does feel like it's the most either neglected or depleted right now, trust that, right? Trust your instinct. It's probably your nervous system pointing you toward your work, right? Where the work is for you. If this is something you're curious about going deeper on with real structure and support, I'm launching a brand new program called the Capacity Method later this summer. And the waitlist for that is open. So there's a link in the show notes. That's actually the program that I'm building all of this around, everything we've been talking about for the last few weeks and a whole lot more. But put your name on the waitlist. There's no obligation putting your name there. It just means that you're going to be one of the first people to get information when registration opens, all the details about it, and access to special waitlist bonuses and incentives and things like that. So come and get on the list. You'll hear about everything first. But thanks so much for being with me today. I will see you soon. Love y'all so much. Take care.
If you love Mommy's Podcast, leave a review.
Thanks for listening to Alive and Well. If today's episode resonated, would you do me a favor? Take 30 seconds and leave a 5-star rating and short review. It really helps to get this show out to other people just like you who could also use the information in this podcast. And if you're ready to take the next step in regulating your nervous system, download my free Nervous System Reset Guide. It's linked right in the show notes. Inside, you'll find simple, body-based practices to help you feel more clear, calm, and connected starting today. Make sure you're following the show so you don't miss out on what's coming next, because you were made to thrive. Fully alive, fully present, and fully well. I'll see you soon.